It was a revelation. It was gigantic. It filled our entire window.
For years, astronauts have described space as more than just beautiful or mysterious. Many of them talk about it as a place filled with silence and unsettling moments that don't have easy explanations. Some of the accounts shared by veteran space travelers are enough to make even hardened skeptics pause. There are stories of unexplained knocking sounds coming from inside their spacecraft, reports of strange metallic objects drifting just outside their windows, even accounts of haunting, music-like noises crackling through their headsets while orbiting Earth. These aren't scenes from a movie. They're testimonies from trained professionals who actually left the planet. So what's really going on up there? Are these experiences misunderstood technical issues, or something we still don't fully understand? To get closer to the truth, we need to look at the incidents themselves. Music in space. When Apollo 10 astronauts Eugene Cernan, Thomas Stafford, and John Young passed over the moon's far side, a stretch of lunar rock permanently out of contact with Earth, they heard something that defied explanation. In the dark silence of that hidden hemisphere, their instruments began picking up an eerie, high-pitched whistling sound. According to mission audio and transcripts, they weren't just hearing static or a system glitch. The tone carried melody, an almost musical quality that unsettled the trio. Stafford confirmed he heard it too. Young leaned in, asking quietly, "Did you hear that whistling sound too?" To which Cernan replied, "Sounds like, outer space-type music." The conversations reflect more than surprise. They reflect real concern. "We're going to have to find out about that," Young said, before adding, "Nobody will believe us." Sometime later, Cernan reflected on it more plainly. "That eerie music is what's bothering me. Who's going to believe it?" NASA's official explanation, once the recordings were declassified decades later, was technical: radio interference. According to the agency and mission experts, the whistling could have come from overlapping VHF radio signals between the lunar module and the command module, especially during the critical period when those two vehicles weren't physically locked together. Yet, not everyone buys the just noise theory. Al Worden, Apollo 15's command module pilot, expressed skepticism. "Logic tells me if there was something recorded, then there was something there," he said. The strange melodic whine, he argued, couldn't be dismissed so easily. Listening to their recorded voices today, you can feel the isolation, the distance, the awe. Three men orbiting the far side of the moon, cut off from Earth, enveloped in darkness, hearing something that might be more than just electronics. In that moment, space wasn't just the final frontier. It was a theater, playing a melody written by the unknown. And if that sounds uncanny, wait until you hear what came next. The space snake. In the expanse of space, aboard one of NASA's most iconic vehicles, Story Musgrave saw something he could not fully explain: a long shape drifting just outside his shuttle's window. Musgrave, the only astronaut to fly on all 5 space shuttles, claimed this thing was not a glint of metal, but something far more organic. A snake-like form, alive in its motion. In his own words, he described it as 6, 7, 8 feet long, rubbery, because it has internal waves in it, and it follows you for a rather long period of time. This wasn't a momentary flare or a trick of light. Musgrave said this form moved with purpose, almost as though it were aware of the shuttle, tracking alongside. He refused to dismiss it as just space debris or miscategorized reflection. Instead, he considered a more unsettling possibility: primitive life. He speculated not that this snake was a star visitor with intelligence, but perhaps something far simpler: single-cell organisms, protein-based life, or a creature from a domain of biology we have never encountered. Because Musgrave was a scientist and not given to fantasy, his certainty demands attention. He didn't frame it like a sci-fi hallucination. He called it what it looked like, a snake. But he also admitted that the cosmos might not be empty, that it could harbor life forms not mechanical or artificial, but living, drifting, very alien to human expectations. Skeptics and scientists have not dismissed him entirely. Some argue the shape could have been a rubber seal or a piece of thermal blanket shed from the shuttle, floating in microgravity, rotating, and catching sunlight in odd ways. In zero-G, debris doesn't tumble predictably. It drifts, stretches, spins, and sometimes appears to swim alongside a vehicle. But Musgrave remained convinced this wasn't just trash climbing alongside the shuttle. He insisted it matched the shuttle's path, as if curious. Picture this. You float in the quiet blackness, Earth a distant marble behind you, and outside your window glides something that feels alive, not blinking or flashing, but undulating softly in the void. The tension this idea creates lingers in your mind long after you land. And if you think that's strange, the next story, from Apollo 10, will make your spine tingle. The Nox. When China's first astronaut, Yang Liwei, launched into space aboard Shenzhou 5 on October 16, 2003. He expected weightlessness, darkness, and silence. But what he heard was none of those things. He heard a knocking, soft, deliberate, and deeply unnerving. It didn't sound like an alarm or system warning. It sounded like someone, or something, was knocking on the outside of his capsule. In a later interview, Yang described it in chilling detail. It neither came from outside nor inside the spaceship, but sounded like someone was knocking the body of the spaceship, just as knocking an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. He said it appeared from time to time, random and unpredictable. He admits he was spooked. He shifted in his seat, leaned toward the porthole, and searched, but saw nothing. No shadow, no floating debris, no meteor. Just the emptiness of space and the echo of his own unease. Back on Earth, he told technicians and engineers about it. They tried to replicate the sound in tests. They ran simulations, used instruments. They listened for banging, tapping, or any anomaly. But they never got the same knock again. What makes it even more mysterious, later missions reported the same noise. Astronauts aboard Shenzhou 6 and Shenzhou 7 said they heard similar knocks. Before their missions, Yang reportedly told them not to worry. He called the sound normal, strangely routine in its own way. Back at Mission Control, scientists debated. Were these just tiny deformations in the capsule's walls? Something caused by air pressure shifts or temperature changes in the vacuum of space? One explanation floated by engineers. As pressure inside the module dropped, metal might warp and flex, making sounds that echo like knocking. If that's true, it's deeply humanizing. A whisper from the craft itself, born not of alien contact, but of the vessel reacting to the harshness of space. But for Yang, floating alone at hundreds of kilometers above Earth, the sound wasn't just a technical quirk. It felt like company, or a warning, unpredictable, inexplicable. Floating hundreds of kilometers above Earth, he faced something no one could clearly explain. The knocks came and went, unpredictable, mysterious, and deeply humanizing. For someone alone in space, a sound like that feels like a visitor or a warning. And this is just the beginning. Stick around, because what the next astronaut saw will make your skin crawl. Flashing lights. Some of the eeriest messages from space don't come through the radio. They come inside the astronaut's mind. During Apollo missions, and later during long stays in orbit. Multiple astronauts reported flashes of light, even when their eyes were tightly closed. They were not dreams. These were real, physical events. In the darkness of their spacecraft cabins, astronauts described these light effects as spots, streaks, or clouds of light. On Apollo 15, for example, the crew deliberately sat in blindfolds and called out when they saw the flashes. One report, about 0.5 to 2 light flashes per minute, averaged over the dark session. Why does this happen? Scientists have traced the cause to cosmic rays, extremely high-energy charged particles from space that penetrate the skull, pass through the eyeball, and trigger the retina or visual centers. In effect, the astronauts are seeing the universe itself, particles from the depths of space lighting up their visual system. One particularly revealing experiment was called ALFMED, Apollo Light Flash Moving Emulsion Detector. On Apollo 17, astronaut Harrison Jack Schmitt wore a specialized detector over his eyes while his colleagues were blindfolded. The device recorded high-energy particles, while the blindfolded crew reported what they saw: flashes at a surprisingly steady rate. Scientific analysis supports this. Research suggests some of the light flashes are caused by Cherenkov radiation. When a charged particle travels faster than light in a medium, like the eye, it produces a visible light flash. Others believe direct ionization of the retina or visual cortex is also possible. For the astronauts, though, these are more than just data points. Imagine lying in a tiny capsule, dark adapted, and suddenly seeing bright streaks or bursts of light behind closed eyelids, like tiny stars dancing just for you. Some describe them as luminous dancing fairies inside their vision. The mental impact can be heavy. In the claustrophobic stillness of space, each flash feels like a reminder. The void isn't just outside, it's passing through you. It's intimate and alien at the same time. And yet, even with a solid scientific explanation, the experience doesn't feel entirely ordinary. There's a haunting beauty in knowing that you're visualizing particles flying through you, a whisper from the far reaches of the cosmos. But while this may be unsettling, it's not the end. The next story is even more disturbing, because this time, the mystery isn't only inside the astronaut's head. Space has gone quiet again. The astronauts are back on Earth. Their spacecraft is just a fading point of light now. But whatever they experienced out there didn't come back with them. It stayed with them. Their stories remind us that space isn't just an empty stretch of darkness. It's filled with unanswered questions, strange moments, and mysteries we're still nowhere close to understanding. What they witnessed forces us to confront how small we really are, and how much of the universe remains unknown. So what do you think? Were these experiences simply the mind reacting to extreme conditions, or signs of something more? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because more mind-bending stories like this are coming soon. Until next time, take care.